folks, Jack Spirko here with another survival podcast video. It struck me I should be saying this at the beginning of all my videos. If you found me on YouTube and you're not familiar with my podcast, I actually do a daily audio show of about 60 minutes in length every day, Monday through Friday, available at thesurvivalpodcast.com. So if you like what you see here, check out thesurvivalpodcast.com for our daily show. Doing these review outside today because it's so beautiful out. I got a bunch of them planned. I'm going to try to get through them out here because it's just too nice out here to be in the house. But it does seem that as soon as I turn the camera on in my backyard, every airplane in the Dallas-Fort Worth area decides it's time to fly over my house, especially these little ones. So hopefully we'll keep that down. But today I have for you a product called the Eton Scorpion emergency radio. For those of you who saw my review of another radio previously, you know that I'm not kind to these things when they don't do what they're supposed to do. And I have a lot of listeners that have asked me for a good emergency radio. I'm glad to finally be able to bring one to you that's currently available and that I have some respect for. I'm not going to tell you there's nothing wrong with this as I go through it. I'll tell you some flaws. First thing, though, you might be sitting here going, Jack's having a beer today. I am, but it actually is, it's more than just having a beer. There's actually one of the cool features in this radio. It has a built-in bottle opener, and I thought this would be a gimmick. I really did. I thought that this thing would just break out of there the first time I used it, but as you can see, it actually functions quite well. So I get to have a little Shiner Dortmunder, which is the seasonal ale put out by Shiner Brewery here in Texas with this today. But that actually works, and I thought this was that was a bad sign when I first saw it. In fact, full disclosure, this was sent to me by a guy that does the social media marketing for Eton, and I said, I hope you saw my other video of the, I don't remember the model number of that thing because it was such a piece of junk, I couldn't stand it. But he said, yeah, that's why I want you to do this. So he sent this over. This radio is really kind of cool. First, it's got this little carabiner top so they can clip onto things. I'm not in love with that, okay? And the reason is I do feel that this piece here that moves could be subject to breakage, and I don't know exactly how practical it is. You could certainly hang it from a rucksack or a pack or something like that, but I wouldn't want to go through the woods trusting this. This is more of like to hang it up in your tent or something like that, or to hang it up on something on your wall or what have you, or maybe to put it up in a tree and let the solar panel catch power. It also has built-in flashlight, and what I found is even when, it's hard to see in the brightness out here, but even when the power is down to a point where it won't run the radio anymore, that light will continue to work for about 30 minutes before it fully drains the battery down to nothing. In my past reviews of these radios, one of my problems has been, reception quality. This radio does not have any reception quality problems whatsoever. It picks up, let me find one of our local stations, 97.1 The Eagle. It picks up every station, and it's got digital tuning. Let me turn that down. It's got digital tuning, so you know exactly what channel you're on. When you change the bands, and I'll put some close-ups in this review for you, the AM works just fine. I don't even have this, the antenna up, and it works just fine. My big problem with it was the Cato Voyager was the other radio. The one that I was displeased with was that the emergency weather channel did not work. Let me jack this up a bit. All 6 of them come in absolutely clear. There's 6 different emergency weather channels in the area, and they all pick up absolutely perfectly for me. So I'm very happy with the reception quality of this radio. Let me dial it back down again. If there is an annoying thing about the tuning and the volume, it is that there are push buttons, and they change one at a time. You can hold them down for a scan type function, but you do have to, it's kind of slow to change channels. There's no presets or anything like that. But I would rather have this thing functional the way it is than have fancy things added onto it. So AM reception, great. FM reception, absolutely wonderful. And emergency weather channel reception, absolutely wonderful. Light, very, very bright, very, very functional. Love it. 2 ways to charge it. One is with solar. It took about 3 hours to get to a full charge. It does have a little charge indicator. There's a little battery load function. It blinks when it's charging, so you do know if it's getting enough sun to charge. I found that it doesn't take very much sun for it to charge. 3 hours to get you a full charge. The other option is you got your crank here. I did quite a bit of testing with it to determine how long it would last. On a full charge from the sun, leave it out in the sun for about 3 hours, direct sunlight, a day like today, or all day on probably a cloudy day, you'll get about 3 hours of the radio playing. I got 2 hours, 55 minutes, and 11 seconds of playtime. It could vary from unit to unit, but I found that to be very, very acceptable. And again, the flashlight function still worked. Cranking it, this gets old. So I decided, well, let's just see how much time do I get if I crank for 1 minute. And cranking, cranking can be fast, it can be slow. Cranking for 1 minute at a moderate speed like this, I got about 9 minutes of playtime. So for roughly every minute you crank, you get about 9 minutes of playtime. I don't think you can ask for more from a radio. It is very well built. This is like kind of one of those immaterial things. You'd have to feel it to understand. But I mean, I'm not afraid to bounce it around a bit. The 2 points that I would worry about for breakage are the hand crank. I've seen many of these hand cranks break. This is one of the more sturdy ones I've seen, but it would still be something that if it was not handled properly, left open, could be quite easily snapped off. But if you keep it the way it's designed to be stored, great, you're not going to have that problem. And the other, again, is this moving part of the carbiner up here. This is not meant to bear any weight at all. This is really, again, just to hang the radio. But, for what it is, it's fine. I do have some issues with some of the other functionality. One is there's a USB plug here, and this is designed to charge cell phones. None of these radios that I've seen with solar charging charge cell phones using the solar, and this one's no exception. You plug your USB cable in, you plug it into your cell phone, you crank it, it's supposed to charge your cell phone. I did this with my wife's Nokia. It's like a 6180 or something like that. It charged the phone just fine. It would take a lot of cranking to get a real significant amount of charge into that phone, but you can do it enough to get out a call. I tried this using my cable for my iPhone. It did absolutely nothing to charge the iPhone. So I would just say that the cell phone charging function does work. It's crank only, and it is apparently not iPhone compatible. I have an iPhone 3GS, 16 gigs. So would it charge an iPhone 4 or an earlier iPhone or an iPod? I don't know, but I doubt it. I did try a iPod Classic to see if it would charge that. It did not charge that either. So my guess is if you have an iPhone, this is not going to be, or any type of iPod, this is not going to charge for you no matter how much cranking you do. It does have an input jack to allow you to use this for, like, take an iPod, put an input jack, and play your iPod over it. It's a pretty good sound system. Let me get it back on for you. Switch over to FM. I wanted to just let you see that it does have pretty good volume. That's all the way up. There's Kid Rock. Definitely great for grilling burgers or what have you, sitting around the grill, listening to some music. Plenty loud enough for that, plenty loud enough on the trail, plenty loud enough for emergency reception if all the power is out. And it would be great for playing your iPod again, but you have to have a different way to charge that, or any other type of player. The headphones, there's no headphones that come with it, but the headphone jack works just fine. So if you needed to listen to this in quiet for some reason, it does have that functionality as well. Other than that, I would say that that's pretty much all there is to it. You can get a DC adapter for this radio separately, again, sold separately, where you can keep it plugged in and fully charged at all times. I'm going to tell you, as good as the solar works in this, find a sunny window, keep it faced out in the sun in the sunny window, and it'll work just fine for you. Another bug, though, that I did notice, and this only happened one time. I don't know if it was because it was overcharged or what. I left it in the sun all day to do one of my tests. When I turned it on, the radio did not work. When I turned the flashlight on, the flashlight did work, and I was ready to start condemning this thing the way I did to the Cato. I left the light on for about 20 seconds, turned the light off, and the radio worked, and it's worked perfectly well since. So I don't know, again, if maybe it just hung up or something, or if it can get overcharged. And if it does, that would be the fix. Turn your light on, leave it for a little bit, and it would come back. But overall, these things will set you back about $48, $49. One of the best compact emergency radios I've reviewed so far. Definitely a buy recommendation. There's a link in my video notes if you'd like to get one on Amazon. Please use my link. Or otherwise, anywhere you find it, they're all the same, right? They're all made by the same company. Again, the only weak spots on it, of course, you could have the antenna break. That was one other thing I almost missed. One thing one thing I do like about the antenna is it does rotate and roll over, and that's going to make it less likely to be damaged if it's bumped into, and that completely fills up. But that would be a weak point, the crank, and the carabiner. If I was designing this myself, I would go with function over kind of sizzle, and I would just make this a solid steel loop instead of the carabiner. But it's not enough for me to say not to buy this radio. With that, this has been Jack Spirico with another Survival Podcast video.